This classic game that I want to speak about today on this August 6th, 2024 day, summer day, is Green Bay played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1996. It was late October. I can easily say late October. I believe it was October 27th was the date. It was a 12 o'clock game in Green Bay. The Packers had a bye the week before. They were coming off a huge win on Monday night against the Niners. Unfortunately, Robert Brooks was hurt, injured. Our star receiver was injured in the game. A knee injury, ACL, piece, everything got torn, unfortunately. So we lost him. We wound up beating the Niners again. We were dominant. I said in one of my other posts that we could beat the Niners. We just couldn't beat the Cowboys that night. I think it got us to like 6-1, maybe 5-1, but we were dominant. We only had one loss at that time. It was the 1996 season that I predicted the year before that we were going to win the Super Bowl. Robert Brooks goes down with a torn ACL and other knee damage. Really hurt us. Our receiving threats were, we had Keith Jackson, we had Mark Chmura, we had Antonio Freeman, who was in his second year and he was coming on. We had Don Beebe. That remained, if you ever look at Chris Berman back in the day on SportsCenter, that's what he used to say. Speedy guy. We had Derek Mays was a rookie. Terry Mickens was he had a couple years in the league, but we were hurting without Robert Brooks. Packers got through that game. They won that game. Jackie kicked a 53-yard field goal. I met Chris Jackie back in 1991 from UTEP, and awesome win. Unfortunately, we had beaten the Bucs. Not unfortunately, we had beaten the Bucs week one like 34-3. Keith Jackson had like 3 touchdowns, maybe had 4. Dominant performance by him. So we're playing the Bucs again, divisional game. They were in our division, and I was at the game. Went to the game. Great year. I get excited as you see my smile because I knew the Packers were going to win it. That team was dominant. No guarantees. That's why they play the games. But Packers got off to like a 10-0 lead, but it was tough. The Buck defense at that time was starting to get stronger. They had Sapp. Yeah, Tony Dungy was their head coach, and he was the defensive coordinator from the Vikings. He also played defensive back in the league. So they were starting to build. They had John Lynch was their safety. Donnie Abraham was a corner. They had Hardy Nickerson. They had Derek Brooks at linebacker. I said Sapp. They had Chidi Hanatu. So they had some playmakers. They were coming around. They were playing physical. On offense, they had a friend of mine's, a friend played in the NFL, Eric Rett at running back. Mike Allstott. Dilfer was their quarterback. Their own line wasn't great. They had Alvin Harper, who was kind of a bust for them. I was watching some stuff on him. Who else? Carl the Truth Williams, not the boxer, but Carl the Truth Williams was a receiver. Rob Thomas. They didn't have great receivers. I'm trying to think if I missed somebody. Their offense was kind of shaky, but their defense was getting solid. Dungy was building that defense. Packers get off to a 10-0 lead. They would wind up leading 13-0. Then they couldn't put them away. It was 13-7. 13-7, and they actually stopped us on 4th and 2. But during that game, we lost Freeman. Freeman broke his arm. So Freeman broke part of his arm. We'll put him out for a few weeks. We already lost Brooks. And those other guys that I mentioned had to come up and step up the next couple of weeks. And that was a struggle. The Packers would win that game. They would beat Detroit the following game. I'd have to really look at a sheet to see exactly. This is 1996 now. But I know they fell 2 back-to-back games. They went to Kansas City and lost after that game. I'm sorry. So they did. They stopped them. It was 13-7. Dilfer couldn't get him down the field. Butler had a beautiful sack. Roy Butler, one of my favorite players. The Lambeau Leap guy. He started the Lambeau Leap. And the Packers held on, in that game. So put them at either 6-1 or 7-1. And they would beat Detroit, I believe. It was 8-1. Then they had to go to Kansas City, who was a good team. They lost to Kansas City. And they lost Chmura in the game. So he was out the following week. So now they were down no Brooks, no Freeman, no Chmura. They go into the Dallas big showdown game without Brooks, Freeman, Chmura. They had Jackson, had rookies, and that was a game I talked about a couple posts back where they got dominated, and then they finally would get Andre Rison to come in mid-year. He would help us out, and then Freeman would get healthy, and the rest was history. But yeah, so the basic classic I want to stick on that game was a battle of the Bays. They used to call it the Bay of Pigs. and they used to mock us, and then it became Baywatch. They would say Chris Berman, because we started both teams started getting good, but we would dominate Tampa Bay for a while, until maybe '99. We beat Tampa Bay the next year 3 times actually, which is hard to do, to beat a team 3 times. They beat them in a divisional round the following year also. Tough game, 21-7. That's the famous Warren Sapp and Favre going nose to nose, face to face, pushing each other. Rough battle. And I think we beat them. Now they probably got us in '99 or '98. I'd have to go check. They were coming on, and they would won the Super Bowl in 2002. Unfortunately, without Tony Dungy, they would fire Tony Dungy, and John Gruden basically would win. Not to be sour grape, but with Tony Dungy's team. But they were building, and he got them over the hump. Anyway, I was at that game. It was a beautiful day. It was actually a pretty 50-degree day for an late October game at Lambeau. Sun came out a few times. Edgar Bennett had 90 yards. He was my second top. It's close. Butler and Bennett are real head-to-head on my favorites. He had 90 yards. Butler had a sack. Reggie White blocked a punt. Probably was his only punt block of his career. I would have to check that. But Eugene Robinson had a pick. Just highlights of the game. Eugene Robinson. Craig Newsome had a huge hit. Always did in the game. Sean Jones had a solid game. Dorsey Levens scored. Wasn't much scoring. And then, of course, the rest was field goals by Jackie. Rest. Two other field goals. He missed one. He didn't miss one, or I think he missed one. And then they would even go for one at one point because they were afraid. The wind, it was kind of windy, a little windy. So, yeah, classic game. I was there. It was awesome. I remember kissing the ground that I was at Lambeau Field. I hadn't been there since '87, and before that was '82. So it was the start of me going a few times. I went in '96. I went in 2000. I went in 2001. I went in 2001. I went in 2004. I went in 2005. I went in 2006, 2007. Then I wouldn't go back until 2022. Love the place. 1265 Lombardi Avenue. If anybody ever asked the address, Lambeau Stadium. I think that was it. Go Pack Go. I'm going through an interesting diet situation. I'll let you know in a day or two what's going on, where I'm at. Weighed 181.6 pounds before I ate today. So I'm going through a situation. I'm going to work out right now. Everybody have a great Tuesday. Go Pack Go. They're about to play on Saturday, their first preseason game. No real news. Looks like we're doing well health-wise. Heard LaFleur this morning. Things are looking good. This is going to be the year. Pack going to win the Super Bowl. Go Pack Go.